Well, welcome to today's broadcast, this live here on YouTube. I'm sort of going into territory today that I don't usually go into, which is politics. It's sort of not my lane. I tend to stay out of it. Most of you know that my message is unity, love, oneness, and living in higher consciousness. However, I understand that politics affects us all. So how do we transcend the political divide, political ideology, and remain in harmony with those around us that have different views, different political views, different political passions? I don't use that word sparingly. I think that we're living in a very dramatic time where emotions are high. On both sides of the political divide, we have people that are very passionate about causes they believe in. And yet, when I listen to my great teacher, Wayne Dyer, communicate, he always spoke of a consciousness beyond division, a consciousness that transcended the political divide. He spoke about the universal oneness that is pervasive through all of life. And we often forget that, don't we? Now, I've been observing over the last couple of weeks, and I see a increase in the divide between those of different political perspectives. I think this message is timely. No matter what your political views are, as Dolores Cannon rightly said, there is no good or bad. There are just lessons. There are just beliefs, ideas. Just because we have a belief right now doesn't mean it's truth. If I'm really honest, I believed a lot of things in the past that I've come to learn were not truth. On reflection, I believed them in the moment. They served me for a time, and then I was able to let it go. What are you hanging on to? What ideologies? What beliefs? What perspective are you clinging on to? Could you allow yourself to transcend duality? Could you allow yourself to rise above the duality state and recognize the oneness that is in all of life, what you deem as bad or evil? Could you see divinity in it? It might be the opposing side of politics, and you look at a particular political party and you see and you declare evil over it. And yet life is nor black or white. It's millions of shades of grey. Every one of us, either good or bad, comes from the same place. And we will all return to the same place. Both Shakespeare and Dolores Cannon said that we are temporarily occupying these physical vehicles or costumes we appear to be wearing, playing out certain roles and parts. Cosmically, we're here to learn. We're here to learn lessons about ourselves. We have specific assignments, specific missions that we came here to complete, that we chose to come here. That is why nothing can really happen to you beyond your permission to allow it. I'm going to say that again. Nothing can happen to you beyond your permission to allow it. Because what you perceive as a negative, often when reflected upon, is not negative at all. It's simply a vehicle of learning for you. I was having this conversation earlier today with Aaron, who is on the live stream, and he's moderating our chat today about my own story and my stepmother, who was one of those typical evil stepmothers, not very nice, very cruel, very berating, destroyed my self-esteem for so many years. And yet I sit before you now with a completely different perspective. Everything that was there that was once harming me is now serving me as my story, my testimony, my understanding of what it is like to not be supported, to find challenge, to find adversity, to suffer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. The conditions of your life are different when you see it through a different lens or perspective. And this was such the case for me when I decided to forgive those that had wronged me. Yeah, they were playing bad roles. They were doing injustice. Who would you be without your story? And let's loop this back to politics. Who would you be without the villain in your story? Could you allow yourself to release resistance or judgment towards that you perceive is opposite to you? I've come to learn that as human beings, most of us want the same thing. We want to live in abundance. We want abundance for our family. We want to live in a peaceful world. We want no war. We want to feel happy and joy. Now, I witness in any country, given it the United Kingdom here in Australia, the United States and Canada, that those that have difference of political view, the vast majority of people have that idea about life, regardless of their politics. We've got more in common than we choose to focus on. And if you could allow yourself to release the story and do what Wayne Dyer invited us to do, is to elevate your consciousness and to exist beyond duality and see the intrinsic oneness that is pervasive throughout not just humanity, but the entire planet. Could you see the oneness in all creatures, great and small? Could you see the oneness in those that you see as an enemy? Jesus said to love thy enemy as thyself. What did he say? Such a profound and potential contentious statement. Because he understood that when you release resistance, you're able to exist in the flow state. The only reason that we tend to not exist in the flow state, in the peace and the tranquility that is there for all of us, is that we tend to digress into duality. When we digress into duality, we end up warring not only with others, but with ourselves. Wouldn't you much rather live in a place of peace and tranquility and lead by example? Me creating this video today, I don't know how many people will watch it. I hope if it is resonating, you'll hit the like button and comment and engage with this, because that helps more people see it. And even if one or two people hear this message today and they're positively reminded that it's not about division, that most of us on this planet want peace and harmony. We want to coexist with our fellow human beings, not at war, but in peace. Now, I'm not a denialist. I don't deny the nefarious nature of many humans on this planet that choose to identify with negativity or identify with narcissistic perspectives. But I've come to learn that through the many people I work with, the only liberation is found in releasing oneself from the bonds of attachment that we hold to those that have wronged us. And when you release the bonds of attachment to those that have wronged you, you don't free them. You free you. You free you from the bonds that once held you bound to that individual. Could we do that with our political leaders? Could we stop the war? Could we allow ourselves to stop feeding off the negativity and the news cycle and go into meditation, go into a yogic practice, go into intention and creating intention for our planet? Your power doesn't exist in war. Your power exists in love. And love, I've come to know, is the most potent and powerful force throughout the universe. Can you imagine a community of people in spirituality that are able to transcend politics, are able to transcend divisions and different perspectives and ideas, and remember the oneness in which we all are expressions of? Could you allow yourself to rise above the noise and lead with peace and love and from the heart? That is what this whole new consciousness is all about. The new earth, the new existence is about unity. It's about not learning or trying to acquire or trying to get or trying to acquire through knowledge, but to remember who and what you are and who and what we all are. And that is expressions of divinity itself. You are an aspect of the divine. When you're able to look in the mirror and you're able to unapologetically see yourself as divinity itself. Like Jesus said, it is not I that do the work, but the Father through me. When you're able to see that this divine presence wants to flow through you like a river of water that is going to quench the thirst of those that are in predicaments and situations that are just calling out for remedy in these times. My prediction is this. Over the coming weeks and months, we are going to see an escalation politically of the divide. We haven't even really seen the real division yet. We are going to see loud voices on both sides of politics start the war, start the division. Save this video because these predictions will manifest. But where is your part in it? Are you going to double down on your opinion, your perspective, and cut yourself off from those of an opposing view and get down into the trenches, so to speak, and war with your neighbor, which is ultimately warring with yourself? What you project out there onto another, you're just really projecting onto yourself. When you release the war, when you release the fear, you can go free. You can be free. You can be the best version of yourself that you can be. And this is why I am communicating with you today. I'm reminding you, really, of what we so often forget. And that's that we are expressions of divinity itself. Hawaii taught me something great. Hawaii, Maui, taught me about the oneness of all life. And remind me, please, of this statement. There is a beautiful quote about the oneness of all life. What is that quote? Does any of you know what that is? A beautiful quote about how we're all one. Tell me what that is. I'm looking at the chat now, and welcome to you, Aaron. Do you know what that quote is, Aaron, and the others that are in the chat there live? And perhaps at this point, let me know where you're joining me from. I love hearing from you. Even if you are watching the replay, I do love to see what part of the world you're tuning in from. I'll give it a moment. I know there's always a slight delay, so the time that I say something, the time that something appears on my screen are out of sync. I'm happy to also offer questions today to anybody that may have questions. I'll see if anyone can guess what the quote is. And perhaps if you're watching the replay, you can let me know in the replay. Who has been, though, let me ask this question now, who's been getting caught in the trap of politics? Who's been lowering themselves to that level of duality in the left and right paradigm? I'm certainly seeing it here in Australia. I'm witnessing it through digital means online. I'm having conversations with those that are quite spiritual, that are remaining in that consciousness. This isn't a judgment. It's a reminder. It's a reminder of what we're here to do. And the people I tend to communicate are those that are meant to hear the message, and that is to be reminded. Be reminded of what you already know inside, what you've always known. It's just that we get distracted by the loudest of voices, distracted by the viral videos, distracted by politics and algorithms and technology. But all the while, you remain unchanged, divine. And you can access that aspect anytime you want. The peace that you seek is inside you. The love that you seek is inside you. The healing, the abundance, the prosperity. Everything that you desire is within you. And your only job here on earth is to remember that you are who you are. And when you remember, you can draw upon the well of your own essence and not only provide nourishment for yourself, but for this entire world. I love you all. I'll see you in the next live stream where I communicate.